certified real.
Hey, I'm a little excited.
You heard it here first. Certified real. Airborne.
You are now listening to Real Talk Podcast.
This is certified.
What's good, Real Talk family? Welcome back. We got the usuals. We got my boy Tarell and the boy Gilz. Let's get it on and cracking. This weekend was a dope weekend for myself. Finally, after how many months on top of months, we was waiting for this film to drop. Jordan Peele, Nia Dacosta finally released it in theaters this weekend. The sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it, of CandyMan dropped.
Sequel.
We're gonna get into that. Directed by Nia Dacosta, a black woman. She's also the directing the second to Captain Marvel for MCU. It was written by herself, Jordan Peele, Win Rosenfield, starred, I always say his name wrong, Yahya Abdul.
Manteen.
Manteen. Was it Teyonah Parris, who's a dope actress. Nathan Stewart, Jared, Colman, Domingo, who I think is a dope actor. Also had a dope cast. Let's just dive straight into it. What was initial thoughts and including the hype? Gilz, what you got?
Yeah, I was definitely excited to see the movie. In fact, I made sure I went back and I was like, all right. The night before, I had to, do like a recap, go watch CandyMan 1 again, just to, fresh, because I didn't see it in like over a decade. So, but yeah, the hype was real. I was like, okay, and especially when you got to the theater and then they started with the logo shit, and I was like, okay, all right, so now I know what time it is. But yeah, I thought it was a big job for the hype that it had to live up to, but I thought it did pretty well.
What about you, Terrell?
I want to second that what Gilz was saying about the logo thing. Like once I saw that, I'm like, okay, they really gonna be in their bag when it comes to it creatively, and in terms of fulfilling my expectations. Like I didn't even want to use that term talking about this film, expectations, because I didn't have any expectations other than I know Jordan Peele is on the project. I've heard, Nia Dacosta's, pretty good when it comes to her work and directing and all that stuff. And all the only thing I expected was excellence. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And overall, I thought the film was very well done.
Facts. I agree. It's one of my favorite movies. Growing up as a kid watching CandyMan, but let's dive straight into it because y'all both brought up the creative side of it, and that's one thing that I thought this film had that the first one, the original, didn't have as much of, and like for one example, I felt like this film did an amazing job with what they did with mirrors in the film, right? Like the whole idea of CandyMan is, sitting in front of the mirror saying CandyMan 5 times, and then he's gonna appear and kill you, right? You're gonna summon him and he's gonna kill you. I felt like in the first one, they didn't use mirrors nearly as much as they did now. Like he just appeared, like he was a spirit, he was just there whenever he wanted to be there, especially for the main character, Helen. But in the second one, the sequel, Reboot, they took that mirror thing to a whole nother level, and I felt like it was genius in ways. What was your thoughts on that?
I think I co-sign that point because I look at it as just the effect or that touch from Jordan Peele. Like you look at somebody who did that movie Us, and it was a lot of mirrors involved with that, so the reflection thing. And then he's not just thinking about, like I did this in my past movie, he's also thinking about the whole urban legend where I remember growing up as a kid, like we all used to all throw each other in the bathroom. Yeah, I bet you won't say it 5 times in the mirror. So, like, and niggas hiding in the shower. Like as soon as you about to say it, like the 4th time they bang on something like that, like that was a thing. Like, so that was to create the fear. So mirrors, I think, is genius because even when you leave the theater, you still have to look in the mirror. when you go
Right.
home or whatever.
Right.
So you so they play on that in the movie, and then you can actually feed off of that at home. I think that's a genius horror plot device, something you can take with you even when you leave the theater. So it was, I think a lot of it was Jordan Peele, but I can't say for sure if it was his writing.
Really quick, because I was thinking the same thing, like because we see that in horror films a lot that we don't really see in Black horror films, is they have this really strong, solid, like a strong suited point that they can bounce off of, like what they did with mirrors, right? And reflections. And I saw it with Tarell, and we noticed that from the jump, right? Like when you said, remember when the films first started coming on, and it had everything backwards, like the Monkey Paw production was
Shit didn't even start.
You know what I'm saying? And I felt like that's what it was. Like that's what they was like. They was getting our minds, into that idea. As soon as the credits hit, everything is backwards, and that's how it is in a mirror, right?
So I'm kind of slow. I thought the theater was broke or some shit.
Yeah. At first we thought about it, but Tarell did bring up like that must have been like as it was happening. He said, I wonder if like something's wrong with the projector or if that was a creative choice going into the film. And then obviously as the film went on, we realized it was a creative choice. But we tapped into that like immediately. And I wonder how many people who don't have the same thought process as us as filmmakers also tapped in that or overlooked that and didn't give it the pat on the back that it deserved.
Well, the thing is, if you look at because X, you already know in class, they throw that in our face. Like anytime you make a mistake, quote unquote, or whatever in your project, they'll be like, oh, just tell them it was a creative choice. It was a creative decision. It was done on purpose. So anytime I see something off, I'm like, okay, there's no way they put all this money behind this project and they just dropped it like that. That shit was on purpose. So I'm like, that he's already going in. So I'm like, I'm gonna just let him do his thing.
And I love that. I honestly loved it. I thought it was a dope extra added on to it to get people into that. The only thing that I fear is, like I said, I think people missed it. Like if you didn't have that mindset like we have looking at it, knowing that this is a part of it, I think people missed it. And that's something that we didn't see, we definitely didn't see that in the 80s and 90s with Black horror, is that type of creative, artistic feel to it.
A lot of attention to detail. Like the thing that threw me off originally, because I'm in the theater, I'm sitting in my seat. And then like when that started happening, somebody come flying, running down the steps and going outside. I'm like, oh, he went to go fix it. I was like, oh shit. And then when the first picture showed up, I was like, oh, I'm a dumbass. This is what it was meant to. But like what you were saying with the attention to detail, the creative direction. Like I even heard, and I can't say for sure, I have to see it a second time. I even heard people were saying that the way they said Anthony McCoy, throughout the movie, it was 5 times, and the 5th time is when he turned into CandyMan. It's like that crazy shit. Like you don't even notice until like the second watch through or something like that. Even
some people are not even gonna pick that up on the second watch, because I didn't pick that up on the second watch. But it hits to a point where like, yo, it's believable. Like I could see that happening because of who's behind it, and we understand, those individuals that are behind the thing. And another thing, since you did bring that up, that I've noticed is, they didn't violate people of color like they usually do in film. The first time I watched it, I was like, man, did they even kill anybody Black in this whole film? Right. And then the second time I watched it, there was the Colman Domingo's sister and her friend died in the flashback, but that was like, damn near the end of the film. And then you got, Anthony's character, he dies in the film, but he doesn't die because of CandyMan. He died because the police come and shoot him in the chest. Right. So when you look at it and you watch the film, even when they had the 5 girls in the bathroom, they had 4 white girls and then an Asian girl, and they said CandyMan 3 times, and the Asian girl said, "No, I'm out of here," and dipped. Right. So like whenever CandyMan really came, it wasn't, people of color. And I thought that was an amazing add-on that I feel like people overlooked, especially when the Asian girl was like, nah, I'm not with this. And she dipped out of the bathroom because, she is a person of color. And I just think that that's a dope add-on that I felt like they made sure that they got that into the film. So as I know, I wrote papers on Candyman, and the first story was the most whitewashed story we can get. And I think even for the people that never seen the first one, right? Like that just wanted to go in and see this one because it's popular, or Jordan Peele, whatever the case may be. I think people are just uncomfortable with the truth, right? Like this is actually what happened. This is what this country actually do. And I think that's why a lot of people feel like it was too much, right? And then you have the people on the other side, like what Gilz was saying, they just expected a little bit more. So they say, oh, it's predictable, right? Like, of course, a film is predictable when it's about, shit that you've already been through, right? So like if every slave film is predictable, right? Like there's no slave film that they can make that's not predictable. If it's true to history, to what it is, it's all predictable, right? So that's why I was saying before, like I was defending this film all weekend because people are saying, oh, it's predictable, it wasn't well written, whatever the case may be. But of course you could say that because you already know the outcome, right? Like we know the outcome of what they were saying in this film, right? Like we know the outcome of slave films. So that doesn't make it predictable, if that makes sense, to the sense of how we're trying to talk about it in a film sense. But of course you're gonna feel like it's predictable because we've already seen the story. But I thought this story was 10 times better than the last story. I thought it was more realistic than what they was trying to do. It made a little bit more sense. And I also like the idea that they have this one dominant Candyman that's like kind of pulling like puppets and Muppets, using like kind of like Freddy Krueger, right? Like Freddy Krueger used, like in the second Nightmare on Elm Street, he used a kid to kind of get his name back out there so he can gain strength, so he could be the killer that he wants to be. Right?
That was like a main similarity between him and Freddy.
Yeah.
Him and Freddy like want that name out there.
Yes, and then Freddy versus Jason. That's what he did. He said, yo, how can I get my name back out there? How can I get back to what I want to do? He used Jason in his town, and now people think it's Freddy, right? And I felt like that's the idea that they got with Candyman. And I fell in love with that immediately because not only did they use that, they had a nice solid reason behind it, because they kind of tried to use it as like an anti-hero type thing, right? Like at the end of the film, when she's sitting in the back of the car in a police van, and the police was doing, what police do, that she kind of used bringing Candyman to set her free because he was going to kill, the
I felt like she only said it 4 times.
He said it the 5th time. Remember, the white dude said it the 5th time, and then that's when he came. But it made sense because that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he did. He killed the police and people that oppress other people. He didn't kill black people like that, right? And I just thought that it was a clever way to go about adding layers onto the story that's on top of the original Candyman story.
For some people, and obviously not me, I'm not talking, but for some people are watching, they felt like that was a bit of a turn off too. Him only killing white people, or like, they were looking at it like, oh, this is too, like, has so much of a agenda, that kind of thing.
Agenda. But they've had movies of black people dying first for decades. So why are y'all complaining about one movie? But that's a whole nother conversation. That's crazy.
I will say, while off your point when you're saying this Candyman, you like the writing a little bit better, you gotta give credit to the first Candyman. It is still a classic at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it wasn't done correctly, right? Like I think for the 90s, the story,
and it's a white director, white writer. I get it, but
and I have a big thing with telling black stories from a white creator's mind, and that film is exactly that, right? It's like what they did with Night of the Living Dead. Somebody wrote a story and they happened to cast a black man for either he was the best actor out there, who knows, or they needed to be in the hood of Chicago. They needed a black character. It wouldn't make sense to have a white killer in the hood of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's why they casted him. But that story really fits for the white community, right? It just so happened that they got Tony Todd to be that character.
That story is from a white perspective, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like you can do certain things when it comes to Black stories. You could definitely do without having Black trauma, right? But when you are talking CandyMan, you have to have that trauma there. Like, it's impossible not to have the trauma there, right? Because I even thought about that. Like, how can they have done CandyMan without having the Black trauma? You can't, if you want to, unless you're completely recreating something else. Say, then it's not CandyMan. You know what I'm saying?
You would have to recreate the entire story from the ground up, the origins of the character. Mm-hmm. You might even have to change the locations. They were in the damn projects in Chicago, so it doesn't get any more Black. Yeah, it doesn't get any more, Black trauma related than that.
Right. So, and I felt like they didn't go as deep into the trauma as some films some films do. They touched the surface on gentrification. They even tried to push the blame on artists more so than white people doing it or the government doing it. They didn't go into detail in it. It was all just their opinions and how they personally felt about it in their personal conversations, which we have in the Black community. You can't say that you never sat down with your Black friends and had these similar conversations, right? So that's realistic in itself. So I think that, and I also like that they use these Black characters of excellence, right? They had master's degrees, right? They was at the top of their careers, at the top of their level, some of the best to ever do it, and they were wanted, in that art world, right? Which we don't see a lot, especially in the 90s when in these films, right? So I think there was so much that they did that was great. Look at the apartments that they lived in, the style of homes that they had. You know what I'm saying? It was excellent. She was getting to that bag.
She was definitely getting to that bag.
Yeah, so I can't be mad at that.
So I had some, unless you had some other questions. I had some questions about like the story. Like I still like kind of felt like, I'm not going to say the story was great. I'm not going to say it was 100% perfect. Like there's certain things I was like, okay, you could have delved more into this. Maybe it got chopped off, for, in the editing room, whatever. What do you make of, I forget the girl's name, but what do you make of her father's suicide, the whole trouble artist thing that they were playing off of, and how that ties into CandyMan? Because I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to tell us with that.
So what I think is what I want to say off the rip is, I felt like what they were doing was they have multiple stories in one story, right? And I felt like that's a thing that's new now, because we're doing this thing where we can create off of a story, right? Like the whole Marvel thing is, I'm gonna have the Avengers, and then I'm gonna make a Thor, I'm gonna make a Spider-Man, I'm gonna make an Iron Man. And I feel like we're taking that idea and making it in every story that we write, right? So we went from an era in horror films where the only character that we really cared to dive deep in was the main character, right? Like that main character, that's the only character that we cared about, their story, their backstory, their character development, everything, right? But nowadays we're getting secondary, third, even characters that's in the background that don't even really matter, like William Burke, like his character, who's important to the story, but not as important, in my opinion, where we needed a background from him, but they was able to play into the story, so it was needed. And I felt like that's what they were doing, right? So she has this side of her that mourns for troubled artists, right? Because her father was a troubled artist that committed suicide. So when she see Anthony as a troubled artist, she's attached to that. She, that's an attachment that she had with them, because their relationship wasn't the best, right? But because of those insecurities that they had, she stayed because he was a troubled artist and she understands it. And I think that's what they was trying to play off of. But also at the same time, we can make a story about her, right? Because if we move forward with a CandyMan 2, who's our main character?
She is.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna move forward into a second one and she's gonna be our main character, we need backstory. We need to know where she's coming from and who she is. And I felt like that's what they was doing in the first one, in hopes and leading into that next one.
I was thinking along the lines of the same thing. with Gilz. When the first, I saw it twice. First watch, when he jumped out the window and committed suicide, I'm like, okay, who the hell was that, and what the hell is going on? Did he see CandyMan? Is that why he killed himself? Like, I was a little confused. And then after watching it again, I'm like, okay, so she has this connection with artists. Mm-hmm. It took me a little bit to finally make that connection. And then when you just said it, X, I'm like, oh, okay. So
because remember her brother said it. Remember when he broke the mirror? She went to her brother's house and they was talking, and he said, yo, you don't always have to be there whenever troubled artists have a breakdown. Right. So that's just telling us that she has this connection. Like, she got this feel with troubled artists because her father was a troubled artist. Maybe she dated other artists. She does live in this art world where she gets connected to people's work because, you know, she's putting them on display, whatever the case may be. So she has this connection to it, and it's a part of, you know, who she is. So I think they was just giving us some backstory on who she is, because if they make more, she's obviously going to be that main character moving forward.
At first there was a question. It was like the shadow puppetry thing, what they were doing with their storytelling, dope as hell. And then it throughout the movie, I'm thinking, like, what is like the relevance of that? And then you see this dude is really pulling all the strings. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay,
it's incredible, son.
Yeah.
This is what I was trying to explain. This is what I was trying to explain to people. It's like, yo, there's real art in this horror film, and we're not really seeing real art in horror film. Like, this is shit that we used to see and dramas and romance, or whatever the case may be, thriller, like, you know, suspense, or whatever the case may be. And this man and Nia Dacosta is really taking these themes and ideas from other styles of filmmaking and putting it in horror, and it's making it, in my opinion, 20 times better. So at the end, when I saw it the second time, and you see Tony Todd's CandyMan at the end saying, "Tell everybody," and it also goes to like him floating everywhere. I don't remember CandyMan floating, so like they added elements to him to make it.
He kind of flew though.
I'm just saying though, like CandyMan, the original CandyMan, the first one, he did not float. He walked. Like he
flew sometimes though. But it
wasn't like this man in this movie. His feet did not touch the ground, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he floated everywhere he went, and I think that was fire. And I was trying to explain to people, like somebody asked me, like you said, what was the whole puppet thing? And I was like, not only is it a unique way to explain and to do flashbacks and to explain the story without having to actually say it or do reenactments or whatever the case may be, he's also pulling strings, which is, you know what I'm saying, which I was trying to explain to people. And I think if these people knew this, like if they knew this and had this conversation and watched the film, they would appreciate how good the film was off it.
They're not looking for it.
Mm-hmm. They're not. Just like all the killings was kind of through the mirror. Like, that's elite camera work. And like when he killed old dude in the art gallery.
What's your favorite kill?
Yo, that's a tough one. The very first kill when they was about to have sex in an art gallery or whatever, mm-hmm. and he slit her throat. He was like, "Yo, is this real?" Yeah. And for some reason, I felt the same way. I'm like,
"Yeah,
yo, I was like,
quick.
Oh,
it was quick.
What?"
Yeah. It was
just
quick.
like, I'm like, yo, that shit was wild.
Out of all the kills, that might have to be the best one so far, because I felt like there was no no. My favorite kill was the critic, the art critic. That was fire.
Oh, when it was a wide shot, and then it was just dragged across the window.
It was getting further and further away. And you don't see nothing because it's, you know, like the way the mirror action is working. You really don't see nothing, and you hear her face sliding across the window, and then you see other people in their apartments just
doing
living normal lives. That it was fire. That was fire.
Yo, the part at the end when Brianna was in the back of the police car, and Yahya's a CandyMan came out and was like cutting them niggas up. Yeah. And he was just boom, walked up to the wall, boom. Like, yo, this is crazy.
And I think and that's when I realized the second time that everything was a puppet, like he was just stringing it, was when and I kind of feel like CandyMan, the first CandyMan was kind of controlling William Burke's character too, right? Like I couldn't understand why, because that was a question that I had, like why is he
out there,
why was he so hell bent on making sure that Anthony did what he did, this or did that, like, and it was because, and this is what I loved about it, because I figured this out, and I kind of think this is why William Burke's Colman Domingo's character saw CandyMan as the protector of his neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so he was trying to make it happen so that protector could come back. Because remember, his whole thing was like the cops was always here. It wasn't like how it used to be. They always got a cop here, cop there. They're doing this, they're doing that. Remember, he saw cops beat and kill an innocent man when he was a kid. All of this stuff was evolved around the cops. Because remember, he was saying it's the whole beehive, and then he was talking about the police officers, like that whole thing. He saw CandyMan as somebody that was protecting his neighborhood. And I thought that was a dope ass idea.
It is dope, and you're probably right. But I don't understand how William Burke, it feels that way when he sees what happens to Sherman, the old man with the hook, and then turn around and go to the bathroom, like whatever, how many days, months later, and sees like kids in the freaking bathroom just getting cut up. So so how could you look at him as a protector, like when you could have got if he was in the bathroom that whole time?
Yeah, but he saw, and remember, he was saying there's different CandyMans.
But that was Sherman. That was
no. He saw different CandyMans. Remember, he was the one that was explaining, that told him the whole story of CandyMan, right? Like from the very first CandyMan in 1800s all the way down to Anthony becoming CandyMan, right? Like he knew the whole story, whether it was like true or he made this up in his head as he, whatever the case may be. But he saw these CandyMans are as protectors, or in a way they became CandyMan because of the wrongdoings they were done, right? So Sherman became CandyMan because he got beat to death by the police officers, and he turned out to be what's in it. Now he didn't really go into detail as in do they become evil or whatever the case may be. It kind of felt like an anti-hero type feel to it, like yes, they're gonna kill whoever pops up and says who summons him, but he's also protecting the hood or whatever the case may be. I felt like that's how he viewed it, because that's what I got from when he said, oh, we finally got a witness. He sawed off his hand, stuck the hook up in there. He was following Anthony. He knew who he was even before everything, because he was there the whole time. Remember, he was a boy when Helen got burnt up in the joint and all that stuff, right? So I think that's what it was. Like that was just an effort to change the narrative from the old story to what they're trying to do with it now, I think. And I think that's why it was so important for him to go get Helen's little recorded and was listening to it, because I felt like that they were trying to transition to like this old story was some trash, but we're moving on to something new. This is a better story. This is what CandyMan is for real now, with Black creators taking a part of it, if that makes sense. I also felt like they did an amazing job with the bees. Oh, yeah. Like obviously, they're not real bees like in the original. They had real bees, but I think like how they use the bees in the mirrors, how the bee is on this side with you, and then it flips over to the other side, and it was like a tale that CandyMan is around or he's coming or whatever the case may be. I thought they did a dope job with the bees also. Like they use technology to get that right.
If you ain't see the first one, you wouldn't even know like why the bees are there, because as soon as the movie started with the reverse logos, you heard the bees. You heard them. So like if you didn't see the first one, you'd be like, yo, why the fuck is there bees? Shit, it just don't make no sense.
And they did a good job of not having to make you have to see the first one to watch this one, but it does help. It does help. And so that's what was dope.
I would like to know, like I want to talk to somebody who's never seen the first one and seen this one, and how did they interpret some of these things, right? Because obviously they fill us in, William Burke's character fill us in with what happened to the original CandyMan, Tony Todd, which is true. That's what happened in the first one. It's also what they said happened in here. I like that they added on these other elements of other CandyMan in their own purpose, like the Sherman character. He literally was handing out candy, and they had a serial killer in the area handing out candy with razor blades in it, right? Like that's an added on element for that particular Candyman that particular Candyman did, or whatever the case may be, and it just carried on, right? Because Tony Todd's Candyman used Sherman Fields, like that puppet like with the strings, to lure Anthony into it, right? So and I thought that was a dope idea, right? Like, I mean, I feel like they need to get credit for that story, that type of storytelling, because that's not easy to do, to have these many layers and these many stories, still continuing to stay true to the original story, and it helps that they bring back characters, like Helen's voice, Tony Todd, Vanessa Williams, like bring back these characters to make, to fill it all in. And then instead of using, old footage from the original film, in this one they use, the puppet animation type feel to it. I thought that was all dope in it, and I think that's difficult to do, and they should get credit for that. Praise.
It's credit. I'm not gonna do like a whole summary of like what I thought of the like a whole rating thing. I don't know if we were doing that today, but my question is, artistically, it was great. The writing was great. Filming, everything. Camera action was amazing.
Everything.
Was it like a horror film? Like, what did you like? Was there any scary moments? Were there actually any legitimately scary moments? Like, I didn't feel that way. I'll be honest with you.
Look,
I think so.
I might be being okay. Well, go ahead. What did you think?
are you questioning whether or not it's a horror film?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Oh no, it's a horror. It's definitely a horror film. It's definitely a horror
okay.
film. My thing is, I guess. Okay, I'm trying to. Maybe I'm playing devil. Okay. So maybe.
Yo, let's go.
Maybe what I'm doing is, I'm trying to look at it from the point of view of the people that are saying that, hey, like this film wasn't all that, even though it did 22 million in here, but at the end of the day, in a weekend,
horror film, horror film,
big deal. But at the same time,
directed by a black woman, which is also the first time, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, number one, right.
Great film. Did I walk away scared? Did I do I want to tell my friends about this? Is this kind of film?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I don't think all horror films are made to make you shit your pants and not be able to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, everyone has different levels of fear when it comes to movies. I know some people who won't go to a movie theater and watch a horror movie, but they'll watch it at home during the daytime. You got some people who just won't watch horror movies at all. You got people like me who will be at home by myself in the dark, in the middle of the night, watching a horror film, and will go to bed fine and not give a fuck. Like that's just me. But in terms of the moments that I saw that could have been scary, I don't know, for some odd reason, that scene at the end where Candyman, Anthony's version of Candyman, was walking around the car and then the bees started coming around him. That shot right there, I'm like, yo, that's some. Even in the trailer, and then you saw the cop that was crying and shit. I'm like, okay, that part right there is kind of scary. It's like, okay, I think this cop is about to lose his life or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of scary moments in there, depending on what your perception of what scary is.
That's fair.
So I think I want to get it off immediately, like I always say. Just because you're not scared doesn't mean it's not a horror film. The intent to scare is there, so that makes it a horror film. Like Tarell was saying, I put on a horror film to go to sleep. I'll turn the lights off, lay down to go to bed, and put on a horror film and watch it and go to sleep. Right. But I enjoy horror films, right? So you build a tolerance and you understand that this shit is obviously not real. Right. And I think I think put an 11-year-old, 12-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid and tell them to go watch that film. I think they would be just as scared as we was, because Candyman, the original, wasn't no scarier than this. I wasn't sitting there, like Helen's in the and they're talking to the therapist, and CandyMan walks in and starts killing the therapist. That wasn't scary to me. I think, but I also think that people were expecting jump scares. When you talk horror, you automatically think jump scares where music get to its peak and something pops out and jump at you. And I think that's what people associate that with. And it didn't have that. There was no jump scares in this film, so they just say it's not scary. The few parts that I thought was at least creepy was, for me, the whole idea of this CandyMan being in the mirror is creepy to me, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the part you take home with you. Yeah, that
right. So I'm thinking, like, there's a point where he was talking to the critic. Remember when he turned around and CandyMan was there? But when he turned back around to her, CandyMan was chilling in the background to the right in the doorway. He's just chilling there.
Dope.
He's not doing anything scary. He's just chilling. I felt like that was kind of creepy. The idea, the flashback where you have somebody in that hole. Remember, he's standing in the hole, but you can't really see him. But you can see him in the reflection of the window. I felt like that was a little creepy, because I feel like we all do that in a way where, like, say you close a window, you don't necessarily know what's behind you. And then the worst way to find out what's behind you is by closing the mirror and seeing it in the mirror.
And then turn around, it's not there. You know what I mean? Type shit.
So I think that was creepy. I thought when he was in the elevator and the candy dropped and he looked up and CandyMan is right there, I thought that was kind of creepy. And I think and I also was feeling like the whole idea of CandyMan just slow floating in the air is kind of creepy to me. I like the part that Tarell brought up. I thought that was amazing work what they did, because his reflection was all of the CandyMans as it went around the car. Right. So like when he unlocked the door and started going, you see one CandyMan and the next CandyMan, these different people that was died from police brutality or whatever the case may be. And I felt like that was an amazing add on there. And I also agree. I think the bee swarming him, covering his face, and you not knowing what that is, I think that was creepy. So I thought and then when he cut like the projector screen, and then we don't see him there. It's like we don't see CandyMan. Like we don't see him. We just see reflections of him. Right. So he hooked his ankle and dragging him, and you can only see it in the reflection if you're paying attention. If you're not looking at him itself, you're looking at the reflection, you see it. And I think that's creepy. And then I think they got a lot of creepy moments.
I don't know about you, but like anytime there was a reflection anywhere, I was looking to see if he was just gonna pop up there for no reason at all.
Yeah.
Like you remember the part when she was this was like going towards the end of the movie where Brianna was at the she was talking to the other chick about how she had walked in on the two people that got killed in the other art gallery.
Yeah.
There was just something on the wall that was reflective. He wasn't there, but it's like I was just being drawn to I was drawn to everything reflective, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy.
And they did their job. Like that, they did their jobs, and that's what I enjoy about horror films, is that it happened a couple of times, right? Just like with the whole thing with Freddy Krueger, when you go to sleep. Like when you go to sleep, you know you're gonna dream. And if you dream, you're opening the doors for Freddy Krueger to seep in through there, right? So, okay, I'm not going to go to sleep, right? And you could take that outside with you, right? Like you could take that out of the movie theater with you, like, damn, now I got to go to sleep. And it's the same thing like what you were saying with the mirror. Like we did it a couple of times where we had this reflection, we had this horror character in the mirror. So now I don't even want to look at the mirror. I don't want to brush my teeth in the mirror. Like you could take that stuff home with you. And I think that's amazing. I think that was a dope job, and I think that's hard to do, because obviously we don't see that in all horror films. And you think of some of the greatest horror films, like the Halloweens, the Jasons and stuff like that. Like what is their thing? Scream. What is the thing that you could take home with you? You know what I'm saying? That keeps you still afraid. And I think that's why Nightmare on Elm Street is so successful. I think that's why CandyMan was successful in the 90s and is going to be successful now.
And that soundtrack was creepy as hell too.
I was kind of mad that we didn't hear Say My Name in the film.
That one.
I was kind of mad about
I was looking forward to it.
Yeah,
but
I was kind of mad about that.
Got to get that Beyonce clearance, buddy.
I mean, they had to get it cleared to do to do it in the trailer. I mean, I was just kind of expecting. I mean, I think the music was creepy enough. I thought it was on point, but I was waiting to hear it.
And the bees themselves are creepy enough anyway.
The bees is crazy.
You're really gonna do much
to elevate that noise that you really don't hear unless you're really close, and you hear it no matter where you're at to show like, yo, there gotta be thousands and millions of bees that make that kind of noise. It's creepy in itself.
Shit's annoying.
But I think we dissected this as much as we can, and I think we should go ahead and rate it. So I want to go with Tarell. What would you give it in the rating system?
Rating, I'll give it a certified. Okay, I'll give it a certified. And the reason why I give it a certified is because creatively it was on another level. Mm-hmm. Creatively in terms of the genre it's in. It's a horror genre. And they did things that a lot of horror filmmakers wouldn't normally do. I like the fact that they took the plot and reversed the narrative in comparison with the first one. The soundtrack was very, creepy. It was on point, wasn't too much. I like the implementing the bees. Again, I thought the acting across the board was well done. I like the, just again, the reflections and the use of the mirrors. And just the small, simple things that was thrown in the film just goes to show that on the back end, there was a lot of research, a lot of work being put into this project. So, and of course, Nia Dacosta did an excellent job. Jordan Peele did a phenomenal job. Everyone on this project did a phenomenal job. And clearly the agenda was Black on this film, and I appreciate that. So I will give it a certified review.
What you think, Gilz? What you giving it?
I mean, I agree with everything he said. Like the amount of attention to detail, Nia Dacosta is incredible. Yeah, you can't say enough about Jordan Peele or anybody else who was a part of this project. They did a phenomenal job. So that being said, I still give it a People's Choice. I think
I knew he was gonna give it a People's
Choice. I love the movie. I think it's a great start. I want to see more. So I'm leaving a little bit of room, to take it to the next level. I think there's another level. That's the only reason why I'm giving the People's Choice, as great as it was. So
I'm gonna give it a certified, of course. Because as a child, horror is my favorite, and I feel like what Tarell was saying, creatively, this is at the top when it comes to detail and creative ability in horror. I think this is at the top, one of the best that I've ever seen. I also agree with there's more, but I think for a film that's been rebooted for what has been 30 years, I felt like. And I know they're trying to make it into a franchise, obviously, and make more. So we're going to get more. So I'm going to give it the certified just as a standalone project that they're doing right now. If maybe in the future, if they drop 2 more and I watch all 3 together, maybe that decision it changes as it goes. But I think as a project that they've done by itself, solo, CandyMan 2021, I think it deserves a certified. All right, people, appreciate y'all tuning in with us, discussing CandyMan. It was a dope film. You already heard it from us. Definitely go see that. It's in theaters right now. Go check it out. And we're out.
And if you don't go see it, lock yourself in the bathroom mirror and just say it 5 times.
If y'all do that,
see it a different way.
I'll buy you.
I'm not responsible for anything
film yourself doing it. Film yourself doing it.
And I'll buy you a ticket to the movie.
Real Talk said it here first. Do it.
Certified real.
Hey, I'm a little excited.
You heard it here first. Certified real. Airborne.
You are now listening to Real Talk Podcast.
This is certified.